Hello, my name's Arnold. I'm here to lead a digital class today, so I hope you enjoy. A little bit about me. I actually trained at Swindon Dance, I don't know how many years ago. Then I went on to Rhombez School, after which I've been freelancing ever since. But I've danced with some nice companies along the way. Some you might know, Ballet Boys I was with for a few years, and most recently I danced with Russell Malaphant Company. So that leads on a little bit to the practice that we're going to do today. So it's a bit of a blend of what we might work with Russell Malaphant Dance Company and my own practice molded together. So with Russell Malaphant Dance Company, we use a lot of understanding of fascia connections, body efficiency, body works, identifying different places in the body that we can create connections between point A and point B, and how that might allow us to find a line of efficiency. So a little bit today, we're going to think especially about the rib cage and the sole of the foot, and then we go into a little bit of spirals and understanding how we connect the body into one whole web of movement. And this is to give us efficiency and longevity through our dance careers or our movement practices. However we interact with movement, it's just to give you more freedom and availability, hopefully. So I hope you enjoy, and let's get going. So today we're going to start thinking directly with the feet. So you can close your eyes, just take a moment, feel into the sole of your foot. And firstly, I'm just going to ask you to lift just your big toe. So place all the 4 toes down and just your big toe comes up out of the floor. If this is a bit, the foot's not behaving, then just take hands, place them on the outer 4 toes, and then lift the big toe up. Find that sensation. See if you can remove the hands. And then hopefully you have that feeling. The inside of the sole of the foot is waking up, the toes lifting, and we can let that go. We do the opposite. We push the big toe down and lift the outer 4 toes up. Again, if you want to use your hands as a tool, if your foot's not behaving again, you can do that. I'm just going to swap. So outer 4 down, big toe up. Big toe down, outer 4 up. Swap. And swap. While we're here, just a small challenge. See if you can place the big toe and the little toe down and lift the middle 3. I'll be honest, I'm still getting this one too. So use the hands when you need. Lift up the middle 3 toes. See if you can hold that. And you'll feel how it sends so much pressure down into the foot, into the floor. We release the toes, release the legs, soften, melt. We want to keep that pressure into the floor. So moving on from the toes, let's imagine we're stood on sand. So again, you can close your eyes if it's useful. And we're going to identify a tripod in the foot, a bit like you would have a camera tripod. 3 points of contact, secure base. So the first point of contact in the foot that we're going to identify is the ball of the foot. So if you imagine being stood on sand, close your eyes, keep them open, whatever works, but put a bit more pressure into the sand on the ball of each foot. Through soft ankles, soft knees, ability to move. So do you know when you make those craters in sand and you can kind of sink your foot into the sand? We're putting pressure into the ball of the foot, so that point specifically gets a bit deeper in the sand. And then see if you can identify it at the same time. So instead of this nice movement side to side, we can see if we can push both. Push through the ball of the foot. And again, push the ball of the foot into the floor. So that's our first point. Second point, we're going to go outwards of the foot. And imagine the same thing, but for the little toe. So the small toe knuckle, small ball of the foot. So it's on the corner of each foot. So this point here. I'm going to push that a bit more pressure into the floor. Use the sand image if it helps. You can really feel how there's a difference between sitting into the corner, the small ball of the foot, and the ball of the foot. See if you can identify that difference in pressure underneath the foot. And we come back to that. So explore both. You have the outer and the inner. And that actually connects to the outer line of the leg here, or the inner line for the ball of the foot. So at both times we can feel this pressure through, this power in the adductors in the middle, or this kind of softness of the IT band, the glutes, all the way up through the side of the ribs, so we can feel this. And with that sensation of the outside, let's go along the foot, identify the last part of our tripod, being the heel. And one more time, just identify that. Take the sand image, push the heel. This one especially, when the wave comes in and you're stood looking at the sea, and then it comes out again, you feel your foot sink further and further into the floor. This is a nice image to hold on to here. Feel that image resonate in your body, so your foot sinks into the floor, through the heel. So we have that 3-point tripod. We have the ball of the foot, the small ball of the foot, and the heel. So just take a moment, feel those 3 points, quite specifically each one. Okay, that's the ball of the small ball of the foot. That's the ball of my left foot. That's the heel of my right foot. Left foot, right foot. Play, do your own monologue, ignore mine. And through that tripod, we can identify the midfoot. So that's the middle point of that tripod. So we have ball of the foot, small ball of the foot, heel. And we want the weight to fall through here. So a bit like where you might tie your shoelace, we want to send our weight here. And when we find that, those 3 points can kind of spread. As we bend the leg, those points can open from each other. So the plantar fascia underneath the foot, the sole of the foot, is getting wider every time we soften. And with that idea of softening, we can let the weight of the pelvis just land through that place so that there's this kind of spongy, paddy. Instead of being just on the front, tensing the quad, or on the back, holding it strangely, here, relax the foot, open that tripod wider each time, and you get this softness, ability to stay on balance a bit better. So just exploring that. Keep those 3 points of the tripod on the whole time. Lovely. Let's come back to where we are. See if you can feel a little difference between the beginning and where we are now. So hopefully your feet feel a bit more grounded, a bit more awareness of the sole of the foot. And just hold on to that, lock it in, and we're going to move forward. So let's take our hands to the rib cage and think about our breath a little bit. So just feeling how when you inhale, your hands move out a tiny bit. Feel that space the diaphragm creates, and when you exhale, they relax. One more time, inhale. Like a concertina, and exhale. We're going to focus on the exhale a bit more. So if we inhale, this time I'm going to ask you to exhale all of your breath. If there's a mirror in front of you, you'd fog it up. Collapse the ribs in and down. So really everything. I'm going to turn sideways so you can see what happens to the spine. The pelvis tucks under, rib cage comes in and down, and we get a curve. One more time, inhaling. Now what would be amazing is if we could connect the sole of the foot to the rib cage. So as this closes, our weight lands through the center of that tripod, and then we push through the center of that midfoot, the place we've just spent a while identifying, pushes the floor, brings the breath back in, and we find that connection all the way through the body. One more time. Really push them in and down. Soften your ribs, soften, 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 pull them in. This time, let's stay hanging over a little bit. You can rest the arms here, or let them go. Check in that the back of your neck is nice and relaxed. Check in that you're not too far on the front of your quads, so find that middle of your foot. Shouldn't be too strenuous. We want to be chilling out here. This is an opportunity to let the muscles in the back just relax, chill. And every inhale, we're going to think about sending breath into the back of the lungs. So this place gets wider. And every exhale, we're going to send the ribs further in and further down. So the front's getting smaller, the back's getting bigger. Through the center, inhale. Nice and easy. So hopefully you feel a bit more space in the back after that exercise. You can revisit it anytime with further detail, but we're going to move forward. So we have this way now. We have this kind of wicker basket rib cage closing in, landing through the sole of the foot. Relaxing all of these muscles, getting wider here. And we have that pushing through the floor. We're going to go the other way. So if you interlock your fingers, and this time you see the pelvis has a rotation forward. So instead of tucking under, we're doing the opposite. This rotates forward. This allows the space between the pelvis and the bottom of the rib cage to open. The elbows open up. This space here in the pectoral area. You see it moves a little bit forward onto the front crease of the ankles, but the heel stays down. We can take an inhale with this exercise. And hopefully, if I'm doing it correctly, you can notice that this is not a back bend. Oh, yeah, you crush the back of the spine and everything loses its kind of fluidity. Remember, we're searching for efficiency, availability. It's more a stretch here. This place here, this line goes forward and up. The badge on my shirt goes forward and up, forward and up, forward and up, forward and up. And the stretch is here. This doesn't feel like it's crunching. So let's explore both ways, all the way down. Push through the foot, bring the weight a little bit forward. All the way down. And let that go for a second. Hopefully feeling a bit more open, a bit more connection through the weight, through the feet. Coming up, collecting yourself down, allowing more space for this compression here is what we're aiming to do. So as this comes in, we create space for this compression. Create space, create space, create space, create space, create space. And then hopefully we can arrive somewhere like here without too much grip of the front, because we've taken the work into the rib cage, into the compression at the front of the hip. Coming up without too much problem. Lifting up and back. Lovely. So we've explored closing the front to open the back, lifting the front forward, sending the weight, rotating the pelvis, lifting that up in space so we can get more space at the front, using the use of the feet coming forward in space so that we're not going backwards. The whole thing goes forward so we get this lovely curve that way. Is what we search for when we open. So front, back, let's do sides. So if we take the feet a little bit wider, find the tripod again. And I want you to think about your hands a bit, just quickly to get this idea of how do we connect to what is fascia? What is this line of connection that I've been talking about? So a simple, quick introduction, I think, is if you think about opening your hand, opening the 5 fingers, instead of thinking about the edge of each fingertip opening, let's think about the center of the palm. So open the fingertips with the center of the palm. So there's a different kind of feeling. We have that, or we have the center of the palm. The center of the palm opens the forearm. So as the forearm opens, the center of the palm opens. As the center of the palm opens, the forearm opens, the elbow joint gets a bit longer. The bicep and the tricep open a bit more in space. The deltoid stays soft. The hand has a connection all the way to the scapula. And then we start connecting these lines. The scapula is connected into the back is connected into the torso, the legs, the foot. You can see how the line grew all the way from that hand. And can come back into that place, through to the tripod, catch the weight. So just as a quick introduction to how we might connect to those feelings, but let's use that a bit simpler and a bit more structured so that if you think about side bend, the foot, edge of the foot, small ball of the foot, heel, has a line all the way along, side of the calf, IT band, trochanter, glutes, side of the rib, intercostals, armpit, lats, tricep, forearm, hand, and we get this curve a bit like a banana. And then we come back. Now let's take it from the rib cage. So we've been closing the front to open the back. Let's close this side to open this side. So we can Let all the air out the left side, and this might be imaginary, but let's imagine. So close all the air out of the left side. Breathe only into the right. So inhale in the right side. Close out. Inhale in the right. Close here. Inhale here. And come back. Don't go too far just yet, because once we add the rib cage in, the space you'll find is amazing, but this line might not be ready to take the strain yet. So just take it easy for now. Let's try the other side. Find a bit of that hand opening all the way through the hand, all the way along the arm, through the armpit, through the side of the ribs. IT band, calf, foot, and come back. Just feel it without the rib cage. Now take your intention to the ribs. So again, we close this side. We imagine we don't breathe in this side of the ribs anymore. We turn this lung off. We activate this one. Turn this one on. Turn this one off. Turn this one on. And you see, you'll probably feel the curve gets a lot longer. So again, be gentle with it. A bit like an elastic band. If we just go like that, it's going to snap. If we warm into it, it gets wider and wider. So take that image. Hopefully it's some help. Nice. Other side, rib cage. Now let's activate the other hand. So we've come to this side bend, we're exploring it, taking your time, going as far as you can without it becoming a moment, panic moment in the muscles. You'll feel it, your muscles will tell you. Send this hand underneath, and let's see if we can engage that. And you can see how almost a twist wants to happen. So as this really activates, there's this line wants to open a bit, and then we can come back. See how the tripod of this foot is really secure in the floor. It doesn't come off the floor. It's a safe twist. Let's come back. Loosen that off if you need. Take the other side. Find the side bend first. Find that line where you come off the center of your foot. Then see what happens when you add a bit of this hand. And if you want to, that twist starts to open. Let's explore similar thing. Some church bells. What happens if the hand goes behind? So we can feel how that, just slightly different twists start to happen through the body. Still, this is leaning out. This line still exists. It's still connected. We don't disconnect it. We stay. It's got this kind of tautness to it. Both hands really active. This hand reaching just as much as this hand. And you can recycle. Relax. Shake it all off for a second. Let's come back to this idea of the front ribs again. And let's take it into that compression. So earlier I was talking about how it can make space here for this compression to come further. So if we take one leg up, find your balance, find the tripod in the other foot. And quite often, when we think about alignment, we think about teaching, we might have had to be quite, keep this straight, keep this, whatever, align, and it feels quite stiff. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's a technique of training, but let's go the other way. Let's curve underneath. Let's close the rib cage in. Let's bring the knee as close as we can by softening and curving and curving and curving. Bring the rib cage closer. And we see we get so much more compression here. Try the other side. Explore how you might have done it previously. Soften. Let all the air out. Tuck the rib cage into the pelvis. Bring the head if you can. You see how much compression we allow ourselves. So we refine this in our squat. So we could go down and squat, keeping this all, and honestly, I can get to about here. If we let this happen, tuck under, curve, make space, make space, make space, reach forward. We can find a nice squat. And then let's come back up gently. Reaching up, exploring the range. Use the breath. Come back up. Rotate forward and up. This time we're going to stay down in our squat. See if you can just chill out here. Take that idea of the hand opening from the center again. See if it can reach forward, and you can feel it all the way into your back. And you see how it might want to change the rotation of the legs, so we still have access to the tripod in the foot. And we're just going to see if we can reach so far forward that it takes you to a spring back. Be really specific with how we touch the floor, so that we want to avoid, say you want to sit on the beach, you go like this is locked out, you chill. But we're going to go into a place of activation, so let's set some rules that the elbow never straightens. The hand is like a spring, so as we touch the floor, there's this, we want to find that feeling to how the hand actually works. It's not plant. We want everything to be a part of these kind of springy fingers back to the squat. Open the hand, that leads you in space. Open the hand. So just explore around your kind of circle. These things. Come back to the compression of the rib cage, make space for your squat. Come forward. You've had a little explore, a few places in this kind of front semicircle. Let's see what happens when we go back. When we arrive here, how do you get back forward? Back forward. How do you get back where you came? Let's create this one opening, this one pushing at the same time. And we could spring, swap, spring, swap, a little test. See if you can take the spring out. So have that moment. Really reach, really reach, really reach. Try the other side. Nice. So last little explore here. I'm going to leave you to play with all these directions. Let the legs move a bit, free up the movement a bit. And then I'm going to encourage you to think about the rib cage. So right now it's closed and in, the pelvis is tucked under. What happens if you come here? If you're ready to, can you rotate the pelvis forward and the rib cage opens and back? So we have that same movement that we have here, but we take it down here. Just exploring. So take a moment to kind of lead yourself through the space, thinking about the rib cage, opening, closing, hands searching, leading your body. Explore both sides. Think about that coming back in. How do you then navigate your way out? When you've done a bit of exploring, we're going to find ourselves into a tabletop position. So come and join me here. So if we find ourselves to a tabletop position, and just check in with yourself. I always like to have a little moment to do my own thing, so take that moment for you. And during that moment, just check in. Are your hands roughly below your shoulder girdle? And is your pelvis, roughly above your knees? And you know when this happens because your spine just suddenly can relax. Okay, cool, I found it. If it's off, or there's a bit of weirdness going on, you'll feel it, you'll feel the tension. Just find that place where it's all soft. I'm going to ask, if you don't want to, totally fine, but I'm going to flex my feet up like this, because I find it gives me a bit of, I feel like I'm holding the floor a bit more animalistic. Just a bit more control, a bit more sensitivity, a bit more resistance to push into. So we're going to find the rib cage again. So just closing the rib cage in and down, blowing all the air out of your lungs, fogging up the mirror, which maybe is now the floor. Bring everything in. And then inhaling, Pelvis rotates, rib cage stretches along the front. So it's a bit like cat and cow you might know from yoga. But just taking your mind into the rib cage. Very nice. And let's add the knees. So if we bring the ribs close in and down, the pelvis tucks under, bring the knee towards the chin or the forehead, and then stretch out. And in. And out. We're trying to create a connection between the head, the crown of the head, so if you have a little top knot like me, maybe it's around there, and the sole of the foot. And what I'm doing with my foot is, if you can, there's this little trick you can do. You can open your little toe. So if this is my foot, you get this feeling. And we're going to try and, if you can find that detail, what it does is switch on the line along the leg. So you can do just the foot. If you stretch that foot like you're stretching your palm, you get this activation through the leg, and that's what we're searching for. So as we start to lift the leg off the floor, trying to find a clean line between the crown and the foot, through the spine, activate that toe, and it should activate your hamstring, and hopefully feels like a little bit of a workout. We're going to go a bit further with this, so stretching that front line. So as the leg goes higher, it's because this line gets longer, not because we close in the back. See how my voice even changes? We want to still be able to talk quite normally, stretch the front, keep stretching the front, keep stretching the front, keep stretching the front, to where your limit might be there. And the limit doesn't exist, so it doesn't stop. And from there, that connection between the crown and the foot, hopefully nice and alive by now. Let's just see what happens when we roll that connection. Around, 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 catch. And then how do we come back to where we were? So the knee has to go forward in space. This line opens, this line, the foot and the hand search away from each other. Place the hand, it's back to the head and foot connection. And we're back in. Find that opening at the front, and then feel it. You can feel it open the line in the throat. Push that line back. Lovely. And let's check in with the other side. So bringing yourself back to that feeling if you need to. Check in that the hands and knees are placed correctly. Head towards the knee. Find that line, open the little toe. Connection between the crown and the toe. Both sides of your torso staying long, so don't shorten this side yet. And then we can start to explore that range going up, so stretching the front so the leg lifts up a bit higher. Check in that your voice doesn't change too much like mine. And once you've explored that, you can let this line open. Come to here. Push that leg forward in space, so we're just kind of reversing what we've been doing. This line opens. Find the head and foot connection, draw it into a line, make sure it feels alive, and you're back to where you started. Let's make that the last one. And relax. Let's just take a quick easing out whatever you need to, maybe a child's pose. Maybe you just need to sit down, shake the legs out, whatever you need. Let's come back to tabletop for one more thing. So placing the hands, again, underneath the shoulder girdle, feet alive. And I just want to come back to this hands thing, so this kind of opening of the palm. And we're going to find that through the pressure in the floor. So if we place the hands on the floor, we already have this springy thing from earlier. And I want us to identify the area of the spine between the shoulder blades. And if it's between the shoulder blades, then it's also between the hands. The shoulder blade, hand. This area of the spine here. And I want us to think about how we can drop the spine through that place. Push the floor away, open the palm, open the forearm, open the elbow. Push the spine through that place. Drop the spine through. Push the spine through. So it's an isolation. So it's now not in the rib cage. We're isolating for a second. So we're not doing cat and cow. Just the top of the back. And let's take a little bend. So take the elbows out, see how that feels. Push all the way. Bring the elbows in. You can see how much rotation you have in the elbow here. So let's rotate them all the way in. Spine is pushing through the center of the scapula, which is through the center of the hands, and then it softens through the scapula, softens through the hands, softens through the elbows. Comes down almost like you're a lion coming to take a drink. And then we push back through, open the palm, open the forearm, open the shoulder, open the scapula, push the spine. Rotate the elbows out, see how it's different. In. And now let's play, so it doesn't have to be symmetrical, so I can have one out, one in. One in, one out. You can kind of move your spine a bit. The rest of the spine can react, the head can become soft. The feet can maybe send waves through the spine. Just take a moment. Feel the rib cage closing, opening, elbows rotating out, in. Let a leg become involved every now and then. Really feel this information that you send through the palm of your hand into the floor. Really starts to come through the rest of the body. Playing a bit with this, all coming from that transmission of the spine and the scapula moving. Having a little play. You know you have the foot that can come in and out and wrap, and you could reverse, and just playing a bit for yourself. How do those things all connect into a bit of movement? Just have a bit of fun. No rules. Just using that sensory feeling. And then through that softness of movement, springy hands, let's gradually find a way. This brings us to our feet without too much of a making a meal of it. Sometimes we make such a meal of coming up in contemporary dance, which is great when we're doing our warm-ups and stuff, but we're a lot further on. We have our body connected now through certain ways, so let's use the midfoot and just come. We're up. So there's not too much of a problem coming from here to here, to here, to here, to here. Have the tripod ready to catch. Ribs are engaged. Have space. We can open, we can close. Keeping all those things in your mind. So now that we've come up with a bit more ease in each foot, weight landing through the tripod again, just refine that for a second. We're gonna use what we did on the floor, use that as a tool, as a guide to find stood up. So as if we still have the floor in front of us to push away, we still have that same activation that we did when we were all the way here. We had that real sense of push. We want to find that same resistance in the air in front of us so we can push it away. Open the palm, opens the wrist, opens the forearm, elbow, shoulder soft, opening the scapula, stretching that space between your spine at the back. So this gets wider. Just a few of those. And what's a nice connection to make here would be the elbows and the knees. So a bit like when we take a ballet class and we do fondus. If for those who do ballet, the fondu comes into both knees bend, both legs stretch. My terrible fondu. So we try not to in ballet do the bend, stretch, stretch. We want them to be almost an elastic band between these 2 points so that as one straightens, the other finds its length at the same time. So that we try and find that, the elbow and the knee, so that this coordination starts to exist. So that if we're pushing the air away, opening the palm to open the back here, we're also opening the sole of the foot. That tripod gets wider, the foot pushes into the floor. So we get two-way push, pushing this way and pushing this way with the feet. So just a few times. And again, we had that rotation at the elbow on the floor. How does that change the feeling that comes through the body? If we rotate the arms out, the elbows external, or the elbows internal, how does that change the sensations going through the body? And with this, we're just going to take a journey from here, a little bit to the eye level. Maybe it's in front of the nose. Maybe it's in front of the eyebrows, forehead, hairline, directly above. Find that real two-way push. And let's add a twist, so the hands start to reach and twist. The feet stay where they are, and then we get this pull back. Find the other side, so that this twist happens. You see the feet stay where they are, but you can see the connection is there. We could stay here and twist. We want to do the other way. We want everything to be twisting, 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 so that when we decide the knees are going to bring us closer to the floor, everything has a reverse direction. So it has an outward direction, and we get the reverse. And then we can recycle that reverse, and you can see how it can quite easily take us into some kind of spiraling movement. Other way. Let's explore one hand. So you can release one foot, one side gets longer, and you can feel if I come this way, that hand has so much control of the scapula. You can feel it here. Scapula in, scapula out, or your scapula can turn your hand, scapula can turn your hand. So let's play with that connection. So when we get here, turn your hand, turns your scapula, turns your torso, turns you into this twist. And then we have ability to untwist. And there's a whole bunch of movements that can exist just through twist and untwist. Try the other side. Foot pushing down, connection. Uncoil, recoil. Really nice. So for a bit of fun, see how we can take that into a turn. So we get this kind of movement, soft, into a turn, twist, find yourself back. So we get this kind of one movement. We're not going turn, we want to have that connection. So really, we're just speeding this moment up or taking more risk so that eventually that happens. It doesn't matter if you fall out of the turn. It's not about making the perfect pirouette. We want to have that feeling of spiral. Whoa, get lost, find the floor, take a risk. So it's more about the sensation right now. We're not on stage doing a show. We want to find the limit of this movement. So find the limit for you. What is that? Whoa. You see how you can hang. There's this moment we can discover in our own bodies. It'll be different for everyone slightly. So you really have to search for it in yours. There's that hang moment. It really feels like someone picks you up and you're hanging. The connections are all the way down into the foot. If the connection's not there, it's very obvious because it won't feel correct. You'll feel that, there it is. I can feel it. So just a few times, sending the hand this way, rotating it, and sitting into that hang. Sometimes it doesn't work. Have fun. Let's move forward a little bit. So we're starting to bring all these things we've been doing, and they're starting to take us into movement. So we carry on in that direction. Let's come back to our rib cage. Closing in, opening out, closing in. Elbow and knee has a connection. And let's connect it through the ribs. In the same way we did here, closing, right from the beginning. Opening, did it in tabletop. We had this. Let's connect it to an arm stood up, so that we have this thing working. This becomes this, becomes this, becomes. See how that line can exist, and let's take a little bit into a challenge of tilt forward, a pitch. So the ribs are still doing the same thing as they were in tabletop. We're just making it very hard. Enjoy. Find that line, find the hands opening through space, the foot stretching back. Safety in the tripod. Let's do the other side. Don't know about you, I'm getting hot. Find that connection first, even if you just want to. Okay. Then go that way. Ribs. Ribs. Toes and crown. Now take a pitch. Activate the little toe. Open the palm of the hand. Find that length. It's okay if you fall. Nice. Shake it off. Good to put the work in. Hey. Woo! So, where do we go from all of this? We have all these things we've done. We have the foot, we have the compression, we have the reaching, we have the kind of playfulness on the floor, we have the ease of coming up, elbow-knee connection, spirals, reversing spirals, rib cage, opening, closing. We also have our side bends, so we have our moments of twist. Let's actually revisit that just for a moment, for a bit of fun to end with. How does that become movement? How can we use that to take a risk? So think about, okay, I'm on this foot, this line's become here. This is an active line. This is going to interrupt that active line. What do I need to do? Trust your feet. They will organize themselves. Okay, let's try the other side. Find that active line. Send this twist. Trust your feet. I'm saying trust your feet because I don't want to set this kind of idea of what's correct or what's incorrect. There is no incorrect in this kind of practice. It would be incorrect if it was unconnected. But there is no right foot here, left foot here, this timing here. All perfectly valid ideas, but for this practice, we don't need to use them. We want it to be about sensations. So find it for yourself. Maybe you go onto this foot and reverse. Maybe you don't reverse. Have a play. The same thing here. Understanding we have way up and we have a way down, and the way down can become something else. It can become a movement. And then we're back to where we started. Having these kind of ideas of play, spiral, take a risk. Know that the floor is not too far away from you in this practice, so we can move it. Springy hands. So I think I would invite you to kind of start to play in your space. Maybe put some music on. Start with a rib cage, or start with a hand opening in space. See where that hand leads you. Play with a bit of risk, of balance. How does that balance change? Whoa, it doesn't matter, the floor's not too far away. That's the kind of practice we want to get into, that it's like improvising, but we have these structural components that exist in our mind that we've put the last 40 minutes into, and we use them as a kind of guide, as a toolbox to play with movement safely. You know that your body can catch you wherever you want to take it. Even if you fall, you're ready to collect. There is no kind of risk because you found efficiency just for this kind of movement. So explore that for yourself. I would invite you to, like I say, put some music on, take a moment, and just start to play. Play with risk, play with coming down, coming up, How one way, reverse, becomes something else. Take another way, that reverse. Rib cage, okay, maybe take a moment to pause. Here, what do we do here? We went here. We can go here. Maybe it's a position. So, I'm gonna stop and leave it to you. I hope you've enjoyed, and happy dancing. Take care.